All right, February 1st, quick session breakdown here in ES. Essentially came into the session wanting to see either price's reaction versus the 4,900 or the 4,875. Both of those were going to be levels of interest for today's session. Nothing new here, levels we've been talking about for the past few weeks. Now, as a reminder, following FOMC yesterday, price pretty much puked into the close to test that 48.75 level. And this level was significant simply because it is an area of support and also Friday's high from a couple of Fridays ago that triggered the daily breakout. So you have the big daily breakout here. Friday's high is marked at 48.75. Price resolves higher and then holds that 48.75 as a big area of resistance. I had mentioned yesterday in yesterday's session recap, we wanted to see coming into today how price traded versus that 48.75. You could see that there were some pretty responsive buyers in the overnight session. Right at Globex open, price is resolving higher. You have a retest there about 2 a.m. and then we're back just shy of that 4,900 level. Now coming into the regular trading hours open, if I actually get into the intraday chart here, got a number of good opportunities. The main call for today, the main high probability setup that we were looking for was that inside day. And so what I like to see is action again versus 4,900. Personally focused on longs so long as that 48.75 area continues to hold as support. So keep in mind this 48.75 area is that big downside level of interest. Price initially responsive with buying activity, right? You have a sweep of the lows right at 10 a.m. reversal time, another phenomenal long opportunity, takes out the highs, a pullback to VWAP, great setup right through here. That makes a fresh session high, rolling over into the late morning, getting into that late morning session. And again, we just have a test here at that 48.75 where once again, responsive buyers are being found. From there, it's pretty much just vertical up through the session highs, up through 4,900 to test prior day volume point of control. I've mentioned this a number of times, but if you don't have that as a reference point on your chart, that is a very important reference point, especially when the index is trading on well above average volume. So test of the prior day volume point of control to retest 4,900. Just more buying activity. Every test of that 4,900 getting bought up. So just shows the importance of keeping your approach simple, focusing on levels of interest, focusing on where the highest probability setups are going to materialize. And again, we just pull that from the higher time frame charts, the 15-minute, that 30-minute, and the daily as well. Now looking at the actual action, if we zoom out here, again, coming into this 30-minute chart or even the daily chart, like I said, the expectation was for that inside day. What that means is price for the entirety of today's session, that bar, that daily time frame bar is inside of the previous bar, right? So generally speaking, with an inside day, you want to be trading with the direction that the inside day breaks. So if price breaks higher, right? If we break prior day high, which would be today's high, that 49.35 area, it's a long, and vice versa if short. Now we do have NFP tomorrow. NFP is definitely a market moving event, a big market moving event. That's going to be at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. So we want to see how price is responding. Again, depending on that overnight action, we want to see how price is responding versus this upside level of interest at the 49.35. Buying activity continues up through 49.35. We're going to be looking at 49.55 and then likely up into 5K. It's kind of the next major reference point to be looking at here. A lot of volume through that 5K area. So that's one potential scenario. Now, if sellers continue to step in, again, this is just an inside day. And so if the FOMC selling continues, we still have this primary structure at play being a 1 month long consolidation right? Your breakout, here's the pullback. We have not actually retested that prior breakout point, which is 48.40. So that'll be definitely a downside level of interest based on the buying activity that we saw today. The fact that sellers could not even show a continuation during today's session or during that overnight session to retest the 48.40 has me leaning towards this type of scenario, a retest of the 49.55 and fresh 52-week highs. Now, I'm not positioned for this. That is just my opinion, and we'll see what actually happens when price unfolds. So tomorrow, main watch going to be the 49.35 on ES. Now, as far as NQ, setup in ES does remain a bit stronger in my opinion compared to NQ. That's pretty much been the theme all week. I've been primarily focused on ES. When deciding between ES and NQ, I just go with whichever has the stronger structure, whichever has the easier structure to work with. In this case, it has been ES for the duration of this week. On NQ for tomorrow, if you are looking at NQ or wanting to trade NQ, going to be the exact same type of approach. We want to see pretty much how price trades versus this 2-day range, and specifically today's range. So today's high up there pretty much at 17,460. Today's low down into 17,266. Treating this as a true inside day, going with whichever direction it breaks in. Now the short will actually be a bit tricky here simply because if we are treating this like a daily breakout, well, where are we going to expect buying activity? Well, just below today's low down into that 17,200 area. And you do also have the rising 21 MA right there as well. So that would be a mean reversion type of trade on the daily chart. Price is just about there. Just about there. So personally, going to be focused on long trades for tomorrow. Doesn't mean price cannot sell off. Just what my bias is going to be and what I'll be looking for specifically versus areas of support. Now, as far as individual names, we're just going to be looking at the post earnings ideas. Apple is the largest weighted stock in both NQ and ES. So you want to keep an eye on Apple earnings after hours. Usually is about 30 minutes after the bell. So here in about 35 minutes, we'll see their earnings. That is going to be a market moving event. And then Amazon as well. Amazon's going to be right after the bell. Another heavy hitter as far as market weightings is concerned, how Amazon is actually weighted within S&P 500 and NASDAQ. These are two heavy hitters. So it's going to be market moving. Remember with Google and with Microsoft, the big gap down that we had on both of these, that moved NASDAQ pretty significantly overnight lower. And that's kind of what we are on the backside of now. If we go back to NQ, that was this particular gap, right? So gapping down on the back of those earnings reports, and then FOMC, more selling. Now we've retraced a bit of that, not quite the entire FOMC move, and we still have that unfilled gap right above here. So let's have a look at the SPY chart. Now SPY was interesting because we're kind of coming into that retest of the prior all-time high. So the prior all-time high back in 2022 on SPY is right here at 480. Not quite there yet, but you can see from a proximity standpoint getting pretty close, and SPY actually a few cents above that FOMC high, now pushing into that gap from a couple of days ago. So we'll see how it shakes out. Leaning with the bullish side of things on SPY if you're trading the index here via the SPY ETF. Can come into the near-term structure, and what does this look like? Range, right? Range. So buyers are most interested in showing a break of this 489 level. And if that is the case, we'll be retesting the 492. So pretty straightforward. clean levels to work with. ES, it's going to be the main focus. Oops, wrong ES. It's going to be the main focus here, 49.35. So hope everyone had a great session. There was some phenomenal action today. Really, really good opportunity set today in ES. Hope you guys have a profitable day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can always send me a DM in the Traders Think Tank. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning for the pre-market prep live stream. Have a great evening. Later.